fastest show in sports.
America finally stands united when it comes to one single sporting event that managed to bring us all together, managed to put us all on the same page, managed to make us all think about America first.
What are your thoughts on the Ryder Cup so far?
As an American, it's a bit embarrassing to be losing at golf to a small country like Europe, especially when we invented the sport.
Are you disappointed to be losing to Europe?
We're world champions at football, world champions at baseball, and world champions at basketball. We can't win everything.
Who's your favorite golfer?
Happy Gilmore. I'm a bit disappointed he's not playing today, to be honest.
Members of Team Europe have been complaining about the American fans making too much noise. What do you think about that? If British soccer fans can call the goaltender a fat bastard every time he kicks the ball, surely it's okay for me to call a European golfer an asshole every time they swing their club.
Never before in the history of my career have I ever let off a show, well, a talk show that is, speaking about the Ryder Cup when I used to do sportscasts for News Sport, for all the other Sports News Network and so many others. We sometimes led with golf, especially when it was the Masters and the U.S. Open. Rarely did we ever lead with the Ryder Cup because the Ryder Cup was okay, it was nice. Okay, we get together with the Europeans and we play. Look, I come from a time when the Ryder Cup was no big deal. As a matter of fact, you couldn't scalp tickets. You didn't even think about that. There were tickets to be had on the day. You walked up, you grabbed a ticket for maybe $10, $12, and you were there. It wasn't that big a deal. Now, all of a sudden, the Ryder Cup has become an international incident. What happened this past weekend at the Ryder Cup makes us all stop and think, especially when you consider that rarely do you ever see an athlete as bothered as Rory McIlroy.
Bones, it just seems there's as much pulling for the U.S. and pushing against the Europeans here, especially in this group against Rory.
Yeah, it's been incredibly vocal out here this afternoon, I have to say. But I think that everyone's handled it really well. The problem is that as they walk around the green, the crowd has been shouting out time, if you will, counting from 1 to 10 and then on from there. And I think Rory's looking at the referee now, just asking people to settle down.
Yeah, after a while, Paul, it can kind of get on your nerves.
Yeah, his character building, though, for Rory, as I say, he's normally man of the people, and now he's seeing the flip side. And I think in the big context of his career, having this experience in years to come, he'll look back on it as being a good experience. And as much as it's not fun and it's somewhat uncomfortable at the moment, he's reacted very well over the last few days with it.
This guy handled pretty much everything that came his way.
Home
or away.
That's the point, Dan. When Michael Jordan played in Madison Square Garden, do you think he didn't get stick? They always target the best player.
Jordan said he got even more fired up for the away games, especially at the Garden, just about 30 miles away from here.
Yeah, it's getting a little out of hand out here right now.
Well, there's one thing giving stick in between shots, and I think Rory be the first to say that. We see his dad there in the background.
Yeah, Jerry, his dad, you can see him just over there on one knee.
It's another thing giving stick while he's addressing the ball and trying to affect his execution of the shot.
I like it. All of a sudden now we're talking about giving stick, not being a raging asshole in the stands. This is what happens when you have international competition now, and you have one side that is entitled, and that, of course, is probably always going to be the home side. But it gets a little out of control when you consider that the idea of this is competition, is excellent competition. It's a kind of thing you want to see the greatest perform, no matter whether they're from Europe, China, United States, Canada, makes no difference. You want to see the best perform at their game, especially when it comes down to golf, which is such a cranial type of game. It is so thoughtful. But when it comes to Rory McIlroy, and as the announcer said, character building, sometimes your character goes off the rails.
That bunker's looking tasty. Guys, shut the fuck up.
If we're going to put this in really simple terms here, Rory McIlroy was exactly right when he turned to the crowd and said, "Shut the fuck up!" Because in golf, that's the kind of thing that you do in competition. You silence. You let them sit. And I've already heard of a number of people out there, and some great friends of mine, who have come out and said, well, wait a minute. Wouldn't the game be a whole lot more interesting if the fans were allowed to scream and allowed to shout? Screaming and shouting is one thing, but when on at the Ryder Cup, though, that was insulting. Now, look, I could sit here and go off for minutes and minutes and minutes on end about what raging assholes American fans are, about how they really made Americans look like complete morons and idiots, and how we have a drunken band of louts out there who have nothing better to do than go ahead and get drunk and yell insults, epithets, a good FU bomb here and there at somebody else, and how that doesn't really reflect well on all Americans, and certainly it doesn't reflect well on the entire gallery that's there. But in this case, it did. And I'm not going to go off and use all that, because we've really already done that over and over and over again. But the point here is, Americans are arrogant. Americans are entitled. We have been brought to the brink where we are always believing that we are the best. Look, there's a television commercial out there right now. And again, this is what happens when it's really bad marketing and bad commercials. I don't know what the spot is for. I think it's for a car where it says, the great things about Americans is we are always Americans. Snarl, ganache, ganache. All that other good stuff, you know. Go ahead, knock it off. It's who we have become. We live that arrogance. We live that entitlement. And we do it especially in sports because, look, let's face it. We are the best there is at certain sports. We're certainly the best at American football. We suck at soccer, save for women's soccer, which is still one of the best in the world. We're the best in baseball, unless, of course, the Japanese try to put together a couple of good teams with some great players because they may knock us off our perch, because the Asian players are excellent. We're the best at basketball, though every now and then in international competition we do get our asses kicked. And we're certainly not the best in hockey yet, because when the World Championships come around, usually it's Canada. Oh, wait a minute, we're the best in motorsports. We're the best in NASCAR racing. Why? Because nobody else does it. We're certainly not the best in Formula One. But my point is, we can be fans and not be assholes. We really can. What happened at the Ryder Cup was unnecessary. It's a stain on the game of golf. And no, I don't want players who are out there or fans who are out there in the stands screaming and hollering. No! That's what makes golf beautiful. And I'm not a golfer. I have to be honest with you. I absolutely suck at golf. I have never played one decent round of golf in my life. I have every single time I've gotten out on the golf course, I'm the guy that's just making the turn at 9 going, 2 more beers, please. Because that's how bad it is. I'm usually just out there whacking away, trying to have some fun. That's really all golf is to me. But when I watch golf, and I do it occasionally, I want there to be that silence. I want there to be that magic. I want there to be that absolute moment when everything stops and it's nothing. And you see the best in the world do what they do, instead of having to put up with the jerks, the morons, the idiots, the nickel and dime ass clowns. I want to see them enjoy it. And America, we got to stop being this. We're not all arrogant jerks. We're not all entitled idiots. There's some people out there who actually enjoy sports for what it is.
Ed Berliner, the fastest show in sports.